How's it going, everyone, and welcome to the Thinking Blue podcast. I'm your host, Blake Harris. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about Will Smith being the hero yet again, also talking about Clayton Kershaw's historic night. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Blake Harris TBLA, where I post a lot of great Dodgers content. Definitely a must follow if you're a Dodgers fan. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Now, before we get into the episode, it's time to look back and see what happened on this date in Dodgers history. Now, on August 2nd, 1981, Jackie Robinson became the first baseball player to ever be depicted on a U.S. postage stamp. Now, anytime you get to talk about Jackie Robinson is a good day, so nearly 40 years ago, the first baseball player to ever be on a U.S. postage stamp. Alright, now it's time to talk about last night's 8-2 victory over the San Diego Padres, and where else can we begin other than talking about Will Smith? Now, Will Smith hit a grand slam in the 6th inning to put the Dodgers ahead. He has absolutely been an amazing spark ever since being called up. On the season, he's hitting .349, has an OPS of 1280, but ever since he was called up last week, he's hitting .471, has an OPS of over 1700, 3 home runs, 13 runs batted in. It seems like time and time again, whenever you need a clutch hit, Will Smith delivers. Not only is he delivering clutch hits, he's delivering clutch home runs as well. I mean, we already knew he had those 2 walk-off home runs his first stint, with the Dodgers about a month ago. Now, what was it, a few days ago on Wednesday, I believe, he hits that go-ahead home run in the 9th inning at Colorado, and last night with the Dodgers trailing by a run, he hits the grand slam to put them up by 3. Will Smith, I mean, he has the clutch factor. I think I talked about Matt Beatty a few episodes back, possibly being the new Captain Clutch. I think Will Smith is going to give him a run for his money about the new Captain Clutch. I think it depends on who Andre Ethier is willing to pass the torch down to. But Will Smith, I mean, he is absolutely on a tear. Will Smith, he is absolutely on a tear. He's setting a bunch of records. I mean, I wrote all these records down, so I'm gonna go over them one at a time. Through the first 14 games of an MLB career since 1920, when RBIs they became official, his 19 runs batted in are the 3rd most behind Jimmy Greengrass, who in 1952 with the Cincinnati Reds hit 21 RBIs in his first 14 games, and Austin Riley with the Braves this year, and Mandy Brooks with the Cubs back in 1925, they both had 20. So Will Smith, 19 runs batted in the first 14 career games. That is remarkable. Some other records that he's nearly broken. He ended last night with a slugging percentage of .884, which through the first 14 games is the 2nd highest in National League history, just behind Willie McCovey in 1959, who had a slugging percentage of .885. Now, I believe there was another stat the other day where he's the first player in baseball history as well, where 3 of his first 5 career home runs were either game-winning or they were like in the 9th inning where they gave your team a lead, something like that. So he was the first player with 3 of his first 5 home runs to do that, and he has absolutely been remarkable. I mean, we knew for the last few years that Will Smith defensively was a great catcher. Andrew Friedman at the beginning of the season in spring training talked about how he can envision Will Smith winning multiple Gold Gloves, not just one, multiple Gold Gloves at the catcher position. So we already knew that Will Smith defensively was going to be a great major league catcher, but this offense was something that no one expected. I've talked about this before. As he was coming up through the minors, when he was at Louisville as well, he never had this kind of power. I mean, this hitting has never been there. He talked about that he changed something in his swing this past season. He had 20 home runs with Oklahoma City, already has 6 home runs with the Dodgers right now, and, he's already establishing himself as one of the better hitting catchers in all of baseball, especially power-wise. Now, I know this has only been, 14 games, so this is a very small sample size. We may see, his power start to diminish as time goes on, but the fact that he does have this power, the fact that he is able to hit, at such a high average, I think, without a doubt, he is officially now the starting catcher for the Dodgers moving forward. Now, I know Dave Roberts talked about he's going to be getting the bulk of playing time, for the rest of the season, at least until Austin Barnes comes back. I think when Austin Barnes comes back, if he does come back in September, when September call-ups happen, I don't know how you can give any of these guys playing time. I still think Russell Martin will get a start, once a week, maybe twice a week. I know he's Hyun-Jin Ryu's catcher, so he at least gets one start. Maybe they'll give Will Smith some extra days rest, but I just don't see how you can bench this guy. I mean, defensively, he's already an upgrade. Offensively, he's already an upgrade. So Will Smith, moving forward, he's officially the Dodgers catcher. I even think now, come October, come the postseason, I think he's going to be the starting catcher as well. I think that it's going to be Will Smith and Russell Martin, just because you have to have a backup catcher. But I think for the Dodgers, they'd rather have Russell Martin be the backup than Austin Barnes, just because, one, you have Russell Martin providing great veteranship, but at this point, Russell Martin's the better player as well. I think last night in the Dodgers game, they were talking about it, where I think Russell Martin has like the highest on-base percentage since 2014. So Russell Martin's having a really decent season as well. So Will Smith, he's the guy moving forward. Austin Barnes, he's struggled in AAA so far. He's only 1 for 11. Again, this is not going to continue, most likely, unless Will Smith is just the greatest catcher in baseball history that we've been holding in the minors all season. But a very exciting time right now for the Dodgers and for Will Smith. After the game last night, Dave Roberts compared him to Yasiel Puig. Now, a lot of Dodgers fans immediately were quick to kind of get on Roberts for making that comparison. Now, he's not making the comparison that Will Smith is, how Yasiel Puig is as a player or personality-wise. He's just making the comparison where he doesn't remember a player coming up from the minors and making this much of an impact since Yasiel Puig did. What was that, back in 2013, when he had like the second most base hits, over the course of your first month of your career. So he's just making that comparison where impact-wise and what he's seen, over the course of your first few weeks, that's the comparison he made. Now, that's a really good comparison to make because Puig, statistically, like I said, it was like the second or third best rookie month, ever for a debut. So Will Smith, he's continuing this hot bat. He's probably going to be in the starting lineup again tonight. And I'm loving this. Dodgers fans are loving it. He's the Fresh Prince of LA. By the way, if you haven't seen that video yet, I posted a great 2-minute highlight video on Twitter. I also uploaded it to my YouTube channel. So for a nice little 2-minute highlight video of the Fresh Prince theme with all Will Smith's best hits, definitely go and check that out. But what a night for Will Smith. He's been surprising everyone, me myself included, and I hope this continues. But yeah, I think the Dodgers officially have their starting catcher moving forward. Now, switching over, let's talk about Clayton Kershaw because with Will Smith, him hitting the grand slam, Clayton Kershaw kind of got lost in all the heroics from Smith there. Kershaw moves to 10-2 on the season, but more importantly, he passes Sandy Koufax in Dodgers career strikeouts. Coming into the night, Kershaw just needed 5 to pass Koufax, and he got that. Now, I'm going to talk about the all-time strikeout leaders in Dodgers history. Don Sutton leads the way with 2,696. Don Drysdale with 2,486. Clayton Kershaw now at 2,397. One above Sandy Koufax with 2,396. Now, I believe Clayton Kershaw did this in about 100 fewer innings than Sandy Koufax did. So now it's at a point where how long is this going to take for Clayton Kershaw to set the all-time Dodgers record? Because, knock on wood, hoping he stays healthy, he's going to pass Don Sutton. Now, Don Drysdale, he has just about 90 more strikeouts than Clayton Kershaw does. I don't know if Kershaw's going to have enough to, pass that this season. I think Kershaw maybe gets another 50 or 60 strikeouts for the rest of the season. So next season, no doubt, he'll probably pass Don Drysdale. He'll probably get around that 550 to 600 range. I don't necessarily think that Clayton Kershaw will get 200 strikeouts over the next season and a half. Who knows? Maybe Kershaw, should he stay healthy, he might be able to reach that. But I think without a doubt in 2022, Clayton Kershaw will be able to pass Don Sutton and be the new all-time leader in strikeouts for Dodgers history, which now leads to the question, Kershaw only needs 600 more strikeouts to reach 3,000. Now, a lot of fans kind of are skeptic of whether or not he'll make that or not. I personally think if Clayton Kershaw stays healthy, he'll be able to hit that 3,000 mark. Now, we've seen Kershaw in the past. Should he stay healthy, he's going to get 150 strikeouts a season, no problem. So all you're asking right now, essentially, assuming he finished the season off strong, he's going to need about 5 more seasons where he gets at least 150 strikeouts. Now, he's going to have a few seasons in there where I think he might get a few more. I think he'll finish this season with maybe 160, 170. Next season, he might finish with 160, 170. So he might not need necessarily 150 every year. But like I said, should he stay healthy, I think Clayton Kershaw will finish his career with more than 3,000 strikeouts. Now, again, it just goes to show that Clayton Kershaw, he's just figuring things out. He's figuring how to work around and still have an effective outing, because last night, I guess you can say it was an off game. Anytime a pitcher goes 6 innings, allows 2 runs, strikes out 5, you think that's a quality outing. That's a very good outing. We'll take that 10 out of 10 nights. He walked 5 batters, which was a season high. He's only done that a handful of times in his career, and it seemed like the Padres kind of had his hand. He allowed a lot of base hits. It seems like they were constantly able to get something going against him. Now, on the night, the Padres were only 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. They stranded 11 runners on base, so they had their chances to score against Kershaw. They were putting runners on, but he was just able to work out of those jams and just get out of them. And again, this just goes to show how dominant Kershaw's been throughout his career. He's got a 2.85 ERA on the season. His whip is just below 1.1. But those are on like the bottom, the bottom halves for, seasons for his career. I mean, I was looking him up, and his ERA of 2.85 is right near the bottom. His whip of 1.1 is near the bottom. His strikeouts per 9 of 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, that's near the bottom as well. So it just goes to show, although he's having like a career season for any other pitcher in baseball, for him, this is considered a bad season. I mean, it's like his 8th or 9th best season, whereas any other pitcher, this would be the best they've ever had. So Clayton Kershaw, another dominant start. He's almost at the point now where he might be underrated, which whoever would have thought you would be saying Clayton Kershaw's underrated, but he very well might be underrated at this point. So another thing I forgot to mention as well is the fact that he went 6 innings. He's now officially gone at least 6 innings in all 19 starts this season. That's the most, of his career. That's the longest stretch of his career. It's one of the longest stretches over the last 5 or 6 seasons. I believe the only other pitchers that have had a longer streak are Dallas Keuchel and then Zach Greinke, who back, I think it was in 2015, he did 35 consecutive starts. It was every start, during his entire season that he went at least 6 innings. So the fact that he didn't win that Cy Young that year, I'm still upset about that. That was a robbery if I've ever seen one. So yeah, Clayton Kershaw, he just continues his dominant stretch. Now, speaking of other pitchers that have been dominant as of late, that's Joe Kelly. He came in, he pitched 1 scoreless inning last night, struck out a batter, didn't allow a hit. Now, since May 28th, Joe Kelly has been one of the better relievers in all of baseball, so this isn't like a 2-week or 3-week stretch. This is over the course of 2 months now, where Kelly has been absolutely fantastic. He has a 1.80 ERA. Opponents are hitting only 173 against him. He has 13 strikeouts per 9. He has been, fantastic, and Dave Roberts has been using him now in high-leverage situations, which he's been great in, and now he's slowly turning into that Dodgers reliever that the Dodgers front office envisioned when they signed him to that 3-year, $25 million contract, whatever it was, in the offseason. Now, I know he got up to a rocky start. Dodgers fans are still trying to forgive him for that, but he's slowly but surely turning into that pitcher that we were all hoping for. Now, the thing that sucks is his ERA is still at like 5.2, 5.3 because he was so bad during the first month and a half or so. So that ERA is going down, he's looking good. He's definitely gaining more confidence because you could tell when Joe Kelly in the first few weeks, first month of the season, every time he'd allow a hit, he'd allow a walk, he had that look on his face that he was disgruntled, he was upset, but now he's a completely different pitcher out there. He has a different confidence to him. He looks like he's ready out there, and I am absolutely loving this Joe Kelly. Dodgers fans are loving this Joe Kelly, so if this is the kind of pitcher the Dodgers are going to be getting for October, it may be a good thing they didn't acquire a bullpen piece, because this in itself is kind of like making a little trade where you're getting a bullpen upgrade with Joe Kelly. So hopefully, he can continue the stretch. He's been absolutely phenomenal. Of course, I'm sure in the next few weeks he's going to have an outing or two where he allows a run or two or things just don't look good, but the good thing is we're seeing a stretch where Joe Kelly can be dominant. Hopefully he can transition this into October. Moving on now to some other Dodgers news. We have some exciting news for today, and that's the fact that number 1 pitching prospect for the Dodgers, Dustin May, will be making his major league debut. He's going to be starting tonight, actually, only 21 years old. It's truly remarkable how he's shot up the Dodgers system. I mean, he's pitched in Tulsa and Oklahoma City this year, gone 6-5 with a 3.38 ERA, 1.13 whip, 110 strikeouts in 106 innings, but the thing that's shocking the most is the fact that he's actually been better in Oklahoma City, where they have the juice balls, where for pitchers, if you have an ERA below 4, that's considered good. He has an ERA of 2.30 in his 5 starts in Oklahoma City. He's gone 3-0, held opponents to a 2.12 batting average, has a whip of 1.10, and as I mentioned, he's only made 5 starts, but he's been very, very good in those 5 starts. The Dodgers call him up, kind of replacing Ross Stripling in the starting rotation right now, so that's the thing that Dave Roberts mentioned. He's not sure how many starts Dustin May is going to get. It just depends on when Ross Stripling comes back, so this might be Dustin May's only start. Maybe he'll get another one. Now, the reason for his call-up, I think this entirely has to do with being an October audition. Now, Dustin May, I don't think there's any room for him on the 25-man roster come October. However, I think there may be room for him should he be a piece out of the bullpen. I mean, he's not going to be a starter. That's the thing. With Tony Gonsolin, we've seen he's kind of started working on being a relief pitcher. That may be his more, what he's more destined for. But with Dustin May, he's going to be a starting pitcher, no doubt, especially next season. I'm sure he'll be called up with the Dodgers. He'll be one of their 5 starters. October, there's no room for him in the starting rotation, but there may be room for him as a bullpen piece should 1 or 2 guys get hurt, or should Dustin May just be so dominant. Let's say he goes out tonight, he throws 6 innings, strikes out 8 batters, allows 1 or 2 runs. Maybe he goes another start with the Dodgers, he's even better. So I think this is an audition to see if he has what it takes at the big league level to potentially be that bullpen piece in October if need be, since the Dodgers, like you said, didn't go out, they didn't acquire a few bullpen pieces. So there's a lot of guys in that bullpen that'll probably get the edge over Dustin May come October. But I think this is a smart move for the Dodgers. They have a 15-game lead. Essentially, the next 2 months are just going to be Dave Roberts and the Dodgers just trying a whole bunch of things out because they can. They're not going to blow this lead. They're going to win their division title. They're probably going to have the best record in the National League. So you might as well call up Dustin May, see what he has. If worst case scenario, he has 1 or 2 or 3 bad starts with the Dodgers, okay, you just send him back down, you bring him back up in September as a part of the 40-man, and he's not on the team in October. But, if he excels, if he dominates at the big league level, he might very well be one of those bullpen pieces come October. So I think it's a smart move. I'm not going to be there tonight, so I'm bummed I can't see the Ginger Guard in person, but it's okay because I'm sure he's going to be making plenty of more starts at Dodger Stadium in the coming years, so I'll definitely get to see him then. But Dustin May, the Dodgers' #1 prospect, making his debut tonight. It's going to be exciting to see what he can do because he's been so great throughout the minors, and he's only 21 years old, which is the crazy thing. He's only 21 years old, so he still has plenty of time to develop, but I'm excited to see what he can do. The Padres have a very good lineup that he's going to be facing, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. But Dustin May, as I mentioned, making his Major League debut tonight. So if you're going to be at the stadium, fantastic. If you are going to watch on TV, enjoy that as well. Definitely going to be a memorable night for the 21-year-old Dustin May. But now we're going to move on. We were speaking of Dustin May being in the minors, but let's see what's going on down in the minors right now. Oklahoma City, they had a really quiet offensive game yesterday. They lost 14-4. Edwin Rios hit his 24th home run of the season. Man, I wish this guy had more, available playing time with the big league team because this guy has so much power. I'd love to see it with the Dodgers, but Gavin Lux got yet another hit. He's hitting 450 with Oklahoma City over the course of his month or so that he's been there. Dennis Santana. Now, this was not a good start for Dennis Santana. He got lit up, to say the least. He allowed 9 runs on 12 hits in only 4 innings. On the season, he's 4-9 with a 7.83 ERA. He's had an awful season. He's been one of the Dodgers' top pitching prospects over the last few seasons, but he is starting to slip, and he's starting to slip fast. It's been a rough season for him. I know I get that in Oklahoma City, the balls are juiced. It's pitchers have a higher ERA, but having an ERA of 8, at this point in the season, it is not a good sign. So hopefully, maybe it's just the hitters have been that good in Oklahoma City, and if he eventually gets called up, he'll figure his things out here with the big league team. But Dennis Santana, this has been a guy, I believe he's only 23 years old, so he's still fairly young, but he's been a highly touted pitching prospect in the Dodgers organization, and it has just not been there for him this year. But moving on to another pitching prospect who has, slowly but surely and quietly been proven himself as one of the better and more underrated pitching prospects in the Dodgers organization. That's Parker Curry with the Tulsa Drillers. He threw 8 shutout innings last night, struck out 8, allowed no walks. He has an ERA of right about 3 with Tulsa. He's not currently in the Dodgers' top 30 for prospects. He's a 25-year-old, so he's already kind of up there in age. But Parker Curry has quietly been one of the better pitchers in the Dodgers system this year. I mean, he's been fantastic. As I mentioned, 8 shutout innings from him last night, no walks, 8 strikeouts. So a really good outing for Parker Curry. I assume he'll probably be, sent up to AAA sometime in the next few weeks. I would assume, especially once those September call-ups start happening. So Parker Curry, hopefully he can make his way up to AAA. And hey, maybe this guy next year or the year after when he's 26, 27, I'm hoping he could eventually at least get 1 or 2 outings with the Dodgers. Because, he's put it in his time. As I mentioned, he's already 25, so that'd be really cool. So Parker Curry, great outing last night. He's had a great season so far. Hopefully he can keep this up. But that pretty much wraps up today's talk with what's going on in the minors. Nothing really happened in Oklahoma City. Nothing really happened in Great Lakes. Ogden, their game got rained out. So that's all the minor league talk today. So now we're going to move over to Twitter, and I'm going to talk about some of your questions and hot takes that you guys sent me on Twitter. About an hour ago, I tweeted saying, about to record a new podcast. Send me any questions you got, any hot takes you got. And we got a few responses that we're going to go through, so let's get on that. So if you want to have your question answered in the following podcast, again, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Blake Harris, TBLA. The first question is, have we seen the last of Austin Barnes as a member of the Dodgers organization? Now, I do still think he's going to get called up in September, as the roster expands to 40. But as I mentioned earlier, I don't think he's going to be on the postseason roster. He's definitely going to get some more at-bats with the Dodgers next month. But moving on to next season, I wouldn't be shocked if the Dodgers move on from him. I don't think they're going to bring back Russell Martin, so that does open up another catching spot. I'm not sure if Keibert Ruiz is going to be ready or not, so if they want to maybe keep Austin Barnes as, that catching depth for next season, maybe, but I think Austin Barnes' days as a starting catcher with the Dodgers are long gone. Does Bellinger hit a slump when Doc starts splitting his time between first base and right field? I don't think so. I mean, we kind of saw a bit of a slump the last few weeks from Cody Bellinger. He was hitting like 240 over the last 3 weeks. I think that was his slump. Over the last few games, he started to heat up again. So if he starts playing at first base, I don't necessarily think he's going to start slumping. Maybe he'll have a game or two where he's just not right at the plate. But slump-wise, I think he's going to be fine whenever he starts playing first, whenever that may be. But I'm not too worried about Cody Bellinger. Now, this is a really good question. If Will Smith continues to play like this, what do you think the plan will be for Keibert Ruiz? Now, as I mentioned, Keibert Ruiz, he might be a September call-up. He might not be. I definitely think he's going to be with the team next season. If that's the case, it's still a good 1-2 catching punch to have. You can rotate it where one guy gets 4 games, one guy gets 3 games, or you can, do it however you want to do. The good thing is, Will Smith does have experience playing in the infield. I'm not exactly sure what positions he's comfortable with. I think he may have second base experience. He might have third base experience. So let's just say that you give, Keibert Ruiz 4 games or 5 games behind the plate. You give Will Smith those other 2 games. Well, the other games you can have where Keibert starts, you can put Will Smith at the infield. You can put him at third base where you give Justin Turner the night off. You can put Will Smith at second base where you might give Gavin Lux the night off should he be there next year. There's a lot of things that can happen moving forward, so I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue. Again, it's not a bad problem to have when you have 2 really good catchers. I'm sure Dave Roberts will be able to work the starting time no problem. So I fully anticipate Keibert to be with the team next season, and I expect Dave Roberts to find a way to give both guys equal playing time. Is Andrew Toles still alive? Now, I think like a month ago, he was with the Dodgers in Arizona. He was, partaking, I think, of the Arizona League. But I think he left officially. He didn't really give the Dodgers a reason. So Andrew Toles is no longer currently in the Dodgers system. I think he's done with baseball. Not entirely sure what happened to the guy, but hopefully he's fine. Hopefully whatever the reason is, he's okay. But yeah, I think he's officially out of baseball now, moving forward. Does any team in the NL scare you in the playoffs? Now, I was talking with my friends about this the other day. There's only one team who I think can give the Dodgers a legit run for their money, and that's the Atlanta Braves. I'm not really scared of any other teams. Not really scared of the Brewers. Not scared of the Cubs. Not scared of the Cardinals. Those are the only other teams I think are going to be in the mix. The Braves, they really improved their bullpen this past trade deadline. They have a really good starting rotation, and their offense, if healthy, I think might be the only offensive team that can compete with the Dodgers. We got Ronald Acuna, Freddie Freeman, Nick Markakis, Dansby Swanson, Josh Donaldson, who's having like a bounce-back season, Adam Duvall, who has been kind of nowhere in baseball the last year or so. He's been an absolute gem for them this last week or two. He's been heating up with the bat. Offensively, they scare me. Their bullpen got really good. They still have some starting pitching that I think is really good as well. I still think the Dodgers will have the edge just because they'll have home field. The Braves are still a young team. The Dodgers beat them in the DS last season, so they did get experience last year, but they are still a young team. But I wouldn't be shocked if they push the Dodgers to 6 or 7 games this year in the playoffs. I think they're that good. They're really starting to heat up as of right now, but I think the Braves give the Dodgers the biggest threat. In all honesty, I think the second biggest threat would probably be the Washington Nationals, just because of their starting pitching. I mean, yeah, their bullpen has been a problem this year. Their offense has been kind of hit or miss. Anthony Rendon's been great, but everywhere else has been kind of lacking. But anytime you got Steven Strasburg, Max Scherzer, and Patrick Corbin as your 1, 2, 3. That scares me a bit. So if the Dodgers were to face the Nationals in the DS, I think the Dodgers will come out on top just because their offense beats them, their bullpen beats them, but that's a really good 1, 2, 3 punch that the Nationals got there with their starting rotation. So I think the Dodgers still have the edge over them. I think they have the edge over the Braves, but if you were to ask me which team puts the most fear into my eyes, it would have to be the Atlanta Braves. But yeah, that wraps up this Q&A. Now, this was a very fun one. Got a lot of good questions on Twitter. So if you want to ask a question for a future episode, like I've said, make sure to follow me on Twitter at Blake Harris, TBLA. I'm very interactive there. So if you have any Dodger questions or just anything, it doesn't have to necessarily be for the podcast. Just ask me or, send me your thoughts. I love talking Dodgers baseball. Definitely a must follow. So make sure to do that right now. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Lots of great Dodgers content coming, especially with the playoffs just a few months away. Lots of great interviews, as I did with Eric Karros the other day. I was just on ESPN Radio in Albuquerque, and lots of other fun highlight videos as well. As I mentioned, I posted that Will Smith one yesterday, so definitely subscribe, turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up so that way I know you enjoyed it. And yeah, that wraps up this edition of Thinkin' Blue. This has been Blake Harris, and I will see you guys very soon.